What's up, guys? Welcome back to this channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today is a little bit gloomy in Berlin. We haven't had a great weather for the last 2 days, but I hope you're having better weather where you are. In this video, I'm going to show you something really cool that I've built. I've been actually selling to small businesses. It's an email automation that small businesses can use to generate personalized offer and send it back to their clients really quickly. This works very particularly well for all those businesses that you need to generate like a personal offer really quickly. For example, wedding venue industry has been, at least in Germany, known for taking a much longer time to respond to inquiries, especially for like availability, price, and all these different packages. So I designed a new system that these guys can book and connect to their email addresses and then generate personalized offers for their clients much quicker. And in sales, this term, like time to lead, so the time it takes you to react to potential clients is very important. And the quicker you get, the more likely you're going to get to convert these people into actual clients. So I'm going to show you today the system that I built particularly for wedding venues. Funny enough, a lot of people get super surprised that why did I invest my time into wedding venues and why did I decide to start automating things on that side? Some of them think, oh, this is actually pretty smart because not a lot of people talk about wedding venues. And the other part of the people say like, yeah, maybe their process is a little bit hard to automatize, but you'll never know. So what you end up doing is just maybe give them a phone call, send them cold emails, and then offer them this kind of workflow and see if they are interested. So without further ado, let's jump into the workflow and let me show you a small demo of how it works. Here again, this platform is called N8N for the people who don't know it. It's a low-code automation workflow that you can build AI components really easily. And I mean, not so easily, but much easier than the traditional way that we used to write code. And the most advantage is having these AI agents that you can then connect to your email. So you have actually like think of it as a person who is just sitting behind the email and answering these emails according to whatever you would like. So it can look into your calendar, it can look into your knowledge base. So it kind of know like how much things are priced. It can think, it can do so many different things. So let's have a look into the workflow. So I already sent an email to, let's say, a wedding venue of a certain inquiry. I'm also going to show you the email in a second. So this is the email that I sent that says, hi, me and my fiance are looking for a place. We want to ask about the availability in early July. We want to know about the packages. We want to know indoor, outdoor ceremony spaces, and it says the name. So this is like a very typical inquiry that people send for like a wedding venue. Obviously here, when you're testing the different programs, ideally you need to ask the wedding venue owners or whoever you're trying to build this for is like, okay, do you have some data that is representative, that this is kind of the inputs that we're going to be receiving? So you build the system to try to answer most of these questions. And then you can tell the AI like, hey, if you don't know the answer, like do something else. What does the system do? The system triggers right now, as you see here, is inactive. That's why I had to click here the execute button. But once we go in production and we want to let the system go by itself, we toggle this button basically, and then we would have the answers automatically. So we don't have to click anything. The moment an email like this arrives, this workflow gets triggered literally within maybe 30 seconds. And then the AI gets into the work. So what it's basically doing in here, the first two steps, I'm going to also explain a more deeper dive a little bit later after I show you the demo. Here, technically, what we need to do is to get the actual email, like just get the email, extract the email and the subject, so we actually know what we're talking about. We give it to the AI agent, and depending on the inquiry, what did they ask? We either try to get the availability from the calendar. Here you can connect also different components, like an Excel sheet, for example. One client asked me like, hey, Google Calendar is nice. Can I connect it to an Excel sheet where I keep my availability there? So of course that's possible. And it's even easier than a Google Calendar. But for this purpose, I connected to Google Calendar. You can also connect it to a Google Sheet that I'm also going to show you what it has. Here, basically, it's a very easy way to tell the AI what you want. Like you give it information about the wedding venue, how much does it cost per night, how much does it, what kind of options do you have, what kind of food do you serve. So you can go crazy. Basically, the entire knowledge that you have that you want the AI to know, you can easily put it in a Google Docs and you can update it with time, and then it gets updated automatically. So that makes it super easy for like small businesses to integrate. Later, what actually happens after the agent decide like, okay, this is the final message that I want to send. We, of course, don't send it to the clients directly because, for one thing, AIs are a little bit unpredictable, especially if you have such a hot lead that is asking for your services and they want to know more. You still need a human in the loop. This whole concept is called human in the loop, just because you really care about your clients and you don't want to lose these clients because the AI said something stupid, right? So we always add this human in the loop approval approach where we saved you all the time. The AI wrote the perfect message, looked into the availability. It had an entire look into what all the possible answers that needed to give, and it will send an email for approval. I can now show you an email for approval, how it looks like. So this is the email that you would get as an approver. So this email will be sent to the wedding venue owner or the business person. And basically what it says here, you can like program it to say whatever, but the main purpose of it to say, we received an email from this person and this is what we want to send them back as an answer. And the answer would be, hi, Julian Paul. Actually, I think I just showed you the email that I sent. So it's the same name, so it's very personalized. Thank you for reaching out. A Wedding Dream is the toy name of this wedding venue that I called. I would like to delighted to assist you regarding the inquiry. We are booked on the July 4th and 5th. However, all other weekends in July are available. So these are the dates that I actually put into the calendar to book them off. The pricing, I also added this in the Google Doc that is 5,000 per night. Indoor, outdoor, we offer a large outdoor area suitable for ceremonies and beautiful indoor hall for receptions. And the accommodation options, we have options close by. And here, maybe if you have something specific, like names of hotels that you have like partnerships with, or you can get the point. You can provide more details to the AI to generate the fund response. Here it can says, I can send you our brochure with detailed information. So here, actually, I'm not sure if I told it explicitly to say this, but we can have a look. But what usually also what I like to do here is, again, very specific example for wedding venues, but sometimes you want to send like these brochures, or there's a lot of businesses who send you some automatic PDFs that they want to send with the email. And this is, of course, possible. This is more like a programmable way. We can say like, oh, send or don't send. And if yes, send, then all these PDFs will be automatically attached to the email and then sent. So that's also like a very nice value add that people have been noticing. Here also I add for the person, so he, like the approver, so he doesn't have to go to see the actual email and like compare. We just add it here, so it's like an easy comparison. Like, hey, this is what they asked for. This is what I'm gonna send. Do you like or you don't like? Let's say, okay, I love it. Let's approve. And once approved, it goes into the email, and then we send the final email. And if let's have a look, did we actually receive something? And voila. So we are the person who sent the email, and we just received the email as a reply to our original email. And with this, okay, it took us 12 minutes because I've been explaining a lot. Usually it takes much quicker than 12 minutes, of course. So if the person is quick, and if the approval channel, maybe also we can do like Telegram or other channels, like sometimes on Slack or something. So it doesn't have to be email all the time and spamming the email. We can have like a Telegram, a specific Telegram channel just for the approval. And this has been also a popular option. But as you see, it's been, what, 5 minutes? And it would have taken the person to look for availability, write an email, look in the pricing, making all these things custom, much, much longer, especially if they're busy. And as far as when I spoke to the business people, they usually are on the field. They are talking to providers. They are talking to these specific like logistic people. So they found the solution to be particularly attractive. Wedding venues is just one part of the businesses who couldn't benefit from this. Technically, any business that relies heavily on competition and people who are looking in different vendors at the same time, and whoever answers first could get the actual contract, could benefit from such email automation. But technically, you don't need an email. You can also, as you know, like a lot of wedding venues or maybe service providers, they have this inquiry forum where you need to send something in the forum. So you can connect this also to like a webhook that can automatically triggers. technically you also don't need an email. You can also do it with something else. And that's basically it. Afterwards, what we do, we save the responses for the approval. So this is for the own tracking to see if the AI is actually performing well or not. And if the answers are bad or rejected by the person, we would love to collect this data and understand. So probably we need to improve either the prompt of the AI agent or improve something in the process. Maybe something's going wrong. As I said, these systems could be sometimes not so predictable. So that's why monitors is one of the most important thing in any AI and machine learning application. The moment you go in production, you need to monitor it and always check for people being like very happy with your solution. And that's basically the demo. Right now, I'm gonna go a little bit deeper dive to explain to you like what is actually going on in each component. All right, so I'm gonna show you a little bit how to build this yourself if you're interested in building this. I know a lot of people on YouTube build these things with you, so they grab each component and then they add it. I think it's good that way. I like to go through the flow and then show you how each component is being built rather than build it from scratch with you. So if you like this approach, let me know, or if you prefer that I actually build it from scratch for you so you know at every single step what is going on, please let me know in the comments, and that's something I can also do for you. Let's start with the trigger. So of course, for every workflow to start, we need some sort of a trigger. And you can find it here when you Gmail, go to the Gmail tool. If you scroll down, these would be like the triggers. So what we need is the on message received trigger. Definitely what you need here is to like authenticate with your email. What I found actually really interesting that I didn't know, you can name the authentications in a different names. N8N usually say 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you forget, is this my first email? Is it my second email? So I have my official email here, and I have my older email, the one that you just saw. The toy email I use for like tutorials and stuff, so it's not really being used by me at all for like businesses. And yeah, basically, we added something. Nope, we don't want this. That's basically what you need to do. You need to connect it and create a pull time that is every minute. Don't worry here. So here you will not be charged every minute, right? You will only be charged if the thing gets triggered and it is being here, like activated into production. You don't get charged. You are allowed 2,500 executions per month as of May. Could increase in the future. I'm not sure. Or you can, as a lot of people have been doing right now, you can build this on your own infrastructure because it's an open source tool. So that's also possible. And here, important to mention that this thing here, simplify, you need to turn off. Very weird behavior with a simplify. It actually cuts the actual email in half almost. It only shows you a snippet of the email, which is very weird. Like that shouldn't be the default behavior of a workflow. The default behavior should be doing as people would expect it to do. But yeah, turn it off if you want to get the full text of the email. Here is also very important. You need to filter for the inbox labels. Again, also something that wasn't mentioned before. If you don't add this filter, the workflow would also get triggered, especially if it's in production, when you send emails as well, which is something you don't want to do. You only want to trigger this once you receive something. If you send something back, nothing should happen, right? And basically this step here is a little bit repetitive, but what I like to do is to actually just have everything clear, like this one, if it's a trigger to start. Let's see if it actually give us the text. So yeah, it technically give us the text, and this is just another way to get the text. But I like it because it's basically specify like, okay, this is like a very particular email with the actual text. And I noticed that sometimes when I do here, the text actually gets a little bit longer than the trigger one, especially if you have like a lot of back and forward. So I like to do it this way. Technically, you only pay when this whole thing runs, so it doesn't even matter if you add like a couple of different components. Just for the sake of like clarity, also, I like to put everything in variables. So this is also a step that is like a nice to have. I like to make sure that I have like very specific names, variables. So somewhere along the line here, if I need to access them again, I find it easier to access rather than going to this one Gmail and try to remember the exact thing that is called here text. And so organizing here is, again, it's just a flavor, but it's a helpful thing to make you organize your code the way you like it and makes it easier to manage the code. This part here, I like to put as also a variable because Let's say you're trying to sell this to multiple venues or businesses. For different businesses, it will take a little bit more time because you need to change here the actual system prompt. But let's say you're selling to the same industry, which in this case it was the wedding venue industry. So you only need to like update the name of the wedding venue, the sender name, so the actual owner, and their approval email. So you just need to put the new data there. And then technically this whole system is a plug and play and you can sell it to someone else. Usually that's a dream that people try to sell you on YouTube, right? From my experience, it was a little bit further away from the stream because different places and businesses want different things. And the whole point of you being an agency is that you're flexible in developing customized solution for each different use case. For example, as I said, one client said, yeah, Google Calendar is fine. The other one said, no, I want an Excel sheet. The other one said like, no, I want not a Google Docs, but I want you to get it from my Wikipedia or not Wikipedia. He said, I want to get it from my database, from my CRM. So it's very dependent on what use cases you get and what is the tech stack that these people have. So that's something to keep in mind. It's never really a copy and paste. I haven't had a single use case where I sold the exact same thing, a copy and paste thing. No, it was always some work. And the surprising work that I thought that I won't have to do is this one. I thought, yeah, one template and I can just copy it and paste it for the system prompt. It also turned out to be false. Wedding venues or other businesses, everybody wants to be very unique the way they communicate to their brand, to their people. So you need to also add interesting stuff in their system prompt that reflects this identity, the way they talk. Here, I just added like a very simple thing. But for example, in Berlin, these kind of stuff could change, but the way sometimes some people ask me like, yeah, we want to always add these kind of sentences in the email to make sure that this is how we reflect our brand. So these things has to change here, but usually the main bulk, especially if it's rules, it could stay the same. But technically here, what you're trying to say to the AI, like, hey, you're an expert. Your job is to answer incoming emails. You need to also define the tools. It's like, okay, you have a thinking tool. I will also talk a little bit about the thinking tool. Why is it there? Why do I think it makes total sense to add it in such a complicated, analytical, maybe a little bit email writing tasks? It has a calendar. Okay, use this tool to take actions. In the calendar, I'm also gonna add some specific remarks of some mistakes that I've done that you should try to avoid. The wedding venue information, which is the Google Docs, use this tool to retrieve information about the wedding venue. You shall not return any answers about the wedding venue that are not included here. Don't write fake information. I mean, technically, you can write this the way you want. I've seen so many people writing these prompts in a different way. Some people bribe the AI and say, like, if you hallucinate, then you're going to be punished. Or, yeah, people are getting creative because it's a natural language. I don't know if any of these actually make any sense in terms of improvement of the performance. I've seen studies where they said like, yeah, emotional triggers in the prompt actually cause slight increase in the intelligence of the LLMs, which I find a little bit funny. Like you say, like, if you do this right, then you're going to get $1,000 reward or something. And apparently it did work in a study, but I didn't really follow the study to make sure if it's correctness and everything. But yeah, make sure like to add somewhere like, hey, don't write information unless it's there. I think that's very important. Then you need to define like some rules. You'll receive information about a lead. You need to craft a professional email, keep it concise. Nobody wants to read a huge email. Your main objective is to answer all the questions that a lead requested. Ideally make them book a viewing. So here, also important, it depends on your CTA, like call to action. Some wedding venues, they said, just get them on a phone call. That's what I need. Like, just make sure I don't want to keep going back and forth with the email. I'm very good at converting people on the phone. So let them call me. That's my main objective. So if that's the case for the person, then you need to make sure like, okay, your goal is to get them on a phone call. And then the whole messaging of the email gets different. They still receive some information about the venue, but then the main goal is like, let's go and let's book something together. Moving forward, here you add like some rules of what you want it also to do. Like when asked for availability, if not specifying which year, specific date, then assume they're talking about the current year. This is just an assumption. Most people actually look for the year after. So this is also something that you need to discuss and mention to the AI, because sometimes people just ask, I want to hear about your availability. And then like, okay, what do I tell you? Is it this month? Sometimes if you don't specify this, the AI was always looking at just 1 month ahead, which doesn't make sense, right? Like nobody is planning, or maybe there are some people planning their weddings a month in advance. Funny enough, my sister did that, but other people, maybe they need like a year or a little bit longer. Other parts is like, okay, this event only happens on Friday, Saturday. So technically you can either add these all information here in the system prompt, but what I would also recommend, since we're writing, so like from an agency perspective, all these kind of rules, I mean, here, availability, you need to write yourself, but stuff that are like, when does the events happen? Because some wedding venues also do it like all over the week. Some people only do it on the weekends. All of this you can add in this Google Doc form that could be also updated. Maybe you started as offering every day in the week and then you switch to only on weekends. So that's something that you can definitely change. Let's see here. So retrieve information about the venue and its offering in case the lead is asking about specifics. Never makes up information. Again, we're telling it not to. Here is like something that's a little bit interesting for the email, like always sign off the email as the name of the person that we wrote and add the wedding venue name. So this is what we saw here in the warm regards, syrup, and then wedding dream. So makes it look like it's been also signatured and signed. A little hint, I also give it the time so it knows, because sometimes people say, oh, a month from now and stuff like this. So this will also reduce hallucination the more information you give it. Don't assume that the AI knows the date, because it does not. You need to give this information extra, especially when it has to do anything with dates. And the prompt, basically the user prompt, is just, hey, this is the email and this is the subject and this is the email. And the AI would just start and go into these different tools, will start to think and would come up with the answer. Of course, for every AI agent, it's made out of the brain, which is the LLM model. In this case, it's the OpenAI account. You need to create a new credential. Basically, just add your API key. I'm not going to do it now, but there's a lot of people showing you how to do this. So just check out the tutorial, how to do that. I've used GPT Mini, turned out to be good enough. Even a better one would be the 4.0, definitely by far the best superior value. But also depending on the price that you want your customer to pay. Definitely always ask you about, okay, how much is this going to cost me? And you need to know, you need to estimate the cost for them. So if they're going to host this on the cloud, you need to tell them it's $24 a month to host the solution. And then you have to pay for the AI, which is an extra cost. Everything else here is included by their own like infrastructure. So they have emails, they have Google Sheets. That's the beauty of N8N. You don't need data sets. You don't need clouds. Google is already a cloud, but you don't need anything extra like AWS or anything crazy. After it's connected with the ChatGPT, you need to connect to different tools. And the way you do that is you click here on the tool plus button, and then you need to search for the tools. And in this case is the Google Calendar tool. You click on this one. Let's have a look. What does the tool has? You can either set the description manually. Here again, you need to authenticate with Google. Some tools and some Google products require more effort to authenticate than others. For example, a big pain was, I'm not sure if Google Calendar, that was very painful. A Google Drive, for example, was super painful to get it done. I think maybe also the Gmail, because you need to create an account in the Google, activate the API. But again, there's so much resources out there and I'm not gonna waste your time with this. To create here these authentications, just Google how to authenticate Google Calendar with N8N and then watch one of these tutorials and then they would show you how to do it. This is how I did it and it worked. So you need to do also the same thing. But technically what we need to do here, you need to choose the event, a resource, then the operation get many. There's also a create, there's a get. What I do usually, I get like the get many. For this use case, I created a new calendar called wedding venue availability. You can then create also different calendars if like it's a business that has a calendar for groceries, for example, or a calendar for weddings and calendar for special events for like birthdays. So that's the main point of this. So you specify the calendar. What you need to do here, as you saw, like the couple sometimes could ask a specific date. So in our case, it was early July, so the first week of July. And here the best part is you let the AI, like the agent, define the actual dates, like which dates should I look for. And we can, to control, like, did it actually do a good job? Did it look properly? You can look into the tool and see how it was called. So here we see that it was called, show me the dates that are available from the 1st till the 8th, which is technically, yeah, early July, the first week of July. Here is an important thing also to mention in the description. If, for example, in this description, obviously when people book appointment with our venue, they will have like an appointment here. For example, Natalie and Jonas are booked on the 5th. And in that case, you need to tell the tool like, hey, this tool returns fully booked dates. So do not recommend these dates. If you don't say that, sometimes it works, but sometimes the AI think these are the dates that are available and then would recommend you here, the 4th and 5th. And then that's why you're like, oh no, that's not what I had in mind at all. Like that's actually wrong. Maybe with a test or two, you don't see this problem, but like by testing this tool multiple times, you would notice that. So that's very important to keep an eye on. And always in these situations, especially in the tools, always write the description. So you just limit the hallucination as much as you can. Moving forward, so this is actually one of the most fun things that I've done. Technically, what we needed is a way to add information about a wedding venue. So usually what you do in practice, you create this RAG application. So retrieval augmented generation. Now what you need somebody to give you all these information, put it somewhere in a database, retrieve it, and then feed this information to the model, to like the agent. But what happens here, obviously, this information that you retrieve, you need to put in a database. And to put in a database, you need to create an account and then you need to hand over this account to your client. So it becomes a lot of headache, because we're already creating OpenAI for them. We're already creating an account for them. And now they also need another thing. So I was like, okay, I want to really make it easy for them. Use something that they already are using. And in that case, it was Google Docs. And I was like, okay, just write Google Docs. Give me all the information you need. You need to structure it in a nice way that the AI can understand. So don't start like posting images or something crazy to add extra work to the AI. Just write it in a very simple, structured manner. And then you can use that as a tool and then actually extract this information and then give it to the AI. And that was such an easy way to also keep this information up to date because people just need to update it by writing. So with the embeddings, you need to recreate these embeddings and then maybe overwrite the old ones if new information has changed. And this logic is maybe a little bit too complicated for N8N and you need maybe custom solutions for it. So I would recommend you using that. And what this actually happens when it retrieves here the information, it gets the whole thing. And this is some information about a wedding venue and it gives it to the model as context. So it gives it here. So it retrieves all this information about the AI and put it back into the model for extra context. The thinking is just like a very nice tool to add some extra intelligence for the AI. And here it says like, yeah, the venue is booked. I would need the provided information to be articulated clearly in an email. So you see like this is how the AI is actually thinking about the way it wants to write the email. And finally, in the structured way, we put like the ways we want to receive the response. So we don't want the AI just to keep writing stuff. We want it to put it in a variable so we can use it in the future workflows. And in this case, I want a subject because I want to respond. I mean, technically, you don't need a subject because you're replying to the email. But if you definitely need an email, it's like, hi, Julian Paul, thank you for reaching out, blah, blah, blah. And then you can use this in future workflows. So here is an interesting thing. I also added this Boolean as a parameter. Let me show you. So here, when you define the structured output parser, all what you need to do is to tell it, hey, this is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting a subject, an email, and a Boolean, which is a yes or a no variable that is called unrelated. And technically, unrelated means this email is unrelated to what I'm trying to solve, which is giving personalized offers back. Here you specify, okay, these are definitely required. So you cannot just leave them empty or just forget about them. So the AI would always have to give you an answer to these things. And if it is unrelated, it's like somebody asking maybe about a meet or not want to actually book an appointment with us, it goes here and then we just save it for future also testing. And basically we don't send anything back because we don't want to answer these people. The idea is only answer the ones who are asking for our services. Specifically, here you specify, like, I just want to answer these people, like the couples who want to book something. And finally, yeah, we just extract the generated email. This is, again, you can technically pick it up from here. As I told you, I like to put everything in nice variables. And here is the very interesting piece to the puzzle, which is to send an email for approval. Here, when you go to Gmail tools, there is a send message and wait for response. So this is technically what we need. And all what you need is an email to the person that you wanted to approve. Let me open it for you guys. So you need here to write the email. So we receive this inquiry, and this is the email we're going to be sending to them. And so we start with hi with the name, right? Because it's the business owner. We say like, hi, Sarah. Technically, if it's me, the business owner, we received an inquiry with the following subject. We're going to send this as a response. This is the answer from the AI. And then this is the original text. Basically, you just fill up here the data that we just showed you. The response type here is here things get really interesting. You can either approve with like a Boolean, like a yes or a no, similar to what I showed you, like here, approve or decline, or you can do free text. The free text is also a very interesting thing. It makes things a little bit longer, but also some people like it because you can design a system that you can give it feedback. So it loops back. So you, let's say, I love the email, just make it shorter, and then it goes back to the agent, creates a new email, send it back to you. And then when you say, okay, I like it, it goes and it gets sent. So there's these kind of systems that like a feedback loop that you can also create, or you can create a simple yes or no. So technically for the approval, all what you need is to the type of approval, say approve and disapprove, because we want, if it's disapproved, we also want to use this information and then save it. And for the approval button label, so you have here the name of it, approve. So it says here approve, and you define like which one is the primary. For me, the primary is like to approve it, and the decline is the like secondary button. Is basically just the different colors. Here is important. One client said, I like to keep this open until the evening. So you need to increase this time that it waits for the approval. Technically, if nothing happens after 60 minutes, no email are sent. We assume you disagreed, but also no email gets saved here in the rejected. So nothing happens. So ideally, you technically need either to approve or disapprove. It's just a click of a button. But let's say we do approve, then yeah, basically here you are waiting for the signal. So this email retrieves a data point that is called approved. So when this approved is true, then we go to the true branch. And this if statement, you can also get it from here. So this if route, and it's similar to any programming language. It's just like a if true or false, you go up or you can go down. Going up, it's again another email. So this one would be email and then the send. Here, originally I was clicking the wrong one. So the Gmail we will be doing, there's here the send a message, which you can do that needs a title and a message, but I would recommend reply to a message. Here you actually see it as an actual reply, you know, so it looks something like this. So an inquiry, this is my message, and the reply is actually also there on the same message. So it looks like actually I clicked on reply. So make sure to reply to a message. In the reply to a message, what you need is the ID, message ID. It's looking red right now because I did a mistake here. I deleted something, as you remember. So you see the line is not there yet anymore. But you can get this ID from here, from the message. That's also why I retrieve it. So technically, you can also get it from the trigger. This is the ID that we need. And you just need to go down and think, okay, where is it? Where's the ID? Voila, this it is. And you just can copy it and put it here. That's all what you need to do. And then you have the message ID and you just need the text, which is the extracted from the AI. This is also very important. This is, I think it's like a branding thing that N8N does. So in the options, if you click add options, you can add attachments. So this is when I mentioned that you can add PDFs. Very, very useful. You can add different things. So far, I only use the attachments one to add PDFs, but then you can also find this one, which is on by default. Definitely, guys, watch out. This is on by default. And what it says, it technically writes here after the message, sent by N8N, which make you look a bit silly. So you need to switch this off. Luckily, some products, they always want to put their brand everywhere, but N8N give us at least the option not to, which I think is nice. So definitely we don't want to send emails with this attribute because we want them to know that we send it because we looked into it and we like what they did. Finally, what we do, we save these responses. Technically, all of them look the same. What you need is a Google Sheet. Google Sheets are the easiest things to connect with for some reason. You just need to like sign in with Google and then you have access. Here, what we do is you need to append or append a row in a sheet. These are all of them. So you have already like a sheet that is called logging or something. Let's see here. So again, you authenticate the sheet within document, the operation. Here you have multiple. For me, just an append row. So I always add to the row. I have a Google Sheet that's called logging. This would be for my client, basically on his Google Drive, his or hers. And then you need to specify the sheet name and write already like some columns. It makes it easier to map the data to these columns. So the first column I write is the user email, which is not the actual email, but like the email body technically. So the email that they received, I write the AI response. So this is what the AI responded. And I want to know, was it approved or not? So this is also important. Like we need to understand why is the user, or in this case, the business owner, rejecting so many emails. So this is something we need to also measure as a metric. From all the emails that were created, maybe 90% were approved. And this also help you to measure success because the approvals is the success. The higher the approval, the better it is. Technically, that was it. The same process would go here to reject the rejected ones, also log them. The unrelated ones, also log them. And you're basically are done. Definitely you need to add some workflows to handle errors. This is something that maybe I'll show you in a separate video. You can create like a workflow that gets also executed once anything in here fails, like an actual error. And then you as an agency owner would get an email that tells you, oh, something happened for your client. Please go and check, because you don't want the user to get these very technical emails, error logs. They wouldn't know what to do with it. So you need to be informed and you need to go and solve it. Okay, and now a little bit final practical notes for developing in Europe. This part here, especially if you're selling to European clients, you cannot just use the OpenAI account. So this is something that is not possible because the data would be sent to the US, but you want to keep the data in Europe, right? So an alternative would be to use, if you look here, Azure. So you need to use the Azure OpenAI chat model. And what you need to do is to actually create an Azure account. Azure is this Microsoft cloud. It's like Google Cloud Platform, but it's from Microsoft. And what they do, they have hosted models in Europe. And people, for some reason, don't know this. So that's why I mention it here. You can technically have OpenAI models that are hosted in Europe by using an Azure account. And the deployment, you need to make sure to use like the Azure deployment European zone. And then you make sure that the data is processed in Europe and stays in Europe. So that's also important. It sounds really awesome. The only limitation is you need to create this also for your client. And then you have already so many different components that you need to create for them. It gets a little bit tougher thing to sell because they need to manage like an Azure account. There are ways around it. I'm still looking up. There's something that is called Azure Lighthouse that you can, as an agency, manage the account for your client. This is technically possible, but it's a little bit more headache than copy and paste and then sell this thing for your client much quicker. This is the first thing. The second thing was the logging. So here, before you log, this is just an example how logging is being done. As you see here, we are logging names, we're logging emails, we're logging, here technically, hopefully no emails, just like a name, right? What you need to do, if you're saving data for you and for your client, you need a way to at least make this anonymized so you don't need to deal with any data problems. Again, this is like disclaimer, not like a legal advice, but regarding processing personal data, also you as like an agency owner, if your client send this to you, you need to like sign a data processing agreement or something like that with your client. I'm still looking into this in Europe because he's sending you a personal data. But if the person remove these identifiers, like anything related to names, emails, credit cards, like all these kind of like personal identified information, then you can process this data without like extra work. And technically you just want to compare it, like, is the AI responding nicely to what it received? Is it answering the right questions without the extra headache? So here, make sure to add a process or a place that you remove all the names and stuff like this, so you don't have any saved data with you. Also makes it easier for your clients and everybody to deal with GDPR in a proper way. Okay, that was it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I had a great time showing you this project that turned out to be very valuable for the people that I've sold it to. And I hope you can also learn a thing or two and manage to sell these systems yourself. As you see here, building the systems is just part of the story. Selling, marketing, and just educating the people on how to use AI properly. This is where the hard work is. And this is where people on YouTube is just very undermining and very talking as if it's not really a big issue or a big problem, especially when you're selling to local businesses like wedding venues, real estate agencies, or all these like gold mines that people are advertising on online. The process is much, much harder because these people are also not so haven't had such an exposure to AI and technology, similar to other industries like e-commerce or industries who have been using AI and clouds much, much easier. As you saw here, like from the Azure deployment also makes it a little bit more difficult if somebody is even not willing to work with Azure, for example. That was it for now. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comments whether you managed to sell one of these systems, whether you see that these systems make sense for you or for your business. And if you like the way I was explaining things, let me know. Also, let me know what you'd like to see in the future. Looking forward to hearing all your feedback, and thank you so much for stopping by.